Yo, hell yeah. Wyatt begins in like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yo, welcome to Wyatt. And I'm your host, Wyatt O'Brien Evans. Grrr, woof, goddammit, woof, 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 woof. Hi, I said hi to all my YouTubers out there. If you like what you see and if you like what you hear, click that subscribe button at the bottom of your screen. Just click that mofo, click it. And give me some likes. And because I always like to know what you are thinking, send me some feedback. Did I say feedback? I said feedback. I did. It would be greatly appreciated. This edition of Wyatt spotlights Mr. A.J. Lovelace. He is an absolutely amazing talent. Check this out. Check this out. He's a director, a writer, an actor, a photographer, and cinematographer. Y'all, he got more jobs than the Headless. Remember the Headless, that Jamaican family on In Living Color? Well, y'all, look, he's got more jobs than the Headless. So let's go talk to him right now. So without further ado, Wyatt, I said Wyatt, welcomes Mr. A.J. Lovelace. He's a B&B, a bold and bodacious media multi-hyphenate. Now, let me tell you something. He's a director, he's a writer, an actor, photographer, and cinematographer with an impressive body of work. So talk at me, my brother. How the hell are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on today. I'm very excited.
Listen, man, I'm excited too. And I really want to thank you for dropping by Wyatt. I greatly appreciate it. Look, before I have a guest on, I do a lot of research. And man, you are one hell of a creative. I mean, your skills as a creative technician range from filming music videos and branded content to cinema and photography. Your work has been featured in renowned publications, including Deadline and the New York Post. The Webby and Telly Awards have recognized your exceptional talent as well. And your acclaimed works include Expiration Date and Onyx, which we're going to break down later. Shit, I want to be just like you when I grow up.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
I mean, seriously, man, you have done such great stuff. You have this extensive body of work. And what I want to do first is to pull a quote from your recent interview with canvasrebel.com. And it begins like this, and I quote, "I'm happiest when I'm creating. It puts air in my lungs. There have been many times when I've thought about what it would be like to travel a more traditional path, and I can't picture it. I can always envision my future where the clarity around pursuing my creative path is certain. When I begin a new project, I push myself beyond the limits of the circumstances around me to elevate my craft," end quote. That's rather insightful. So let's do a deep dive into that.
Sure. The road of an artist is, the road less traveled, right? So much of how our world is built up is around very traditional paths. And we've seen that there are very clear routes. If you want to be a lawyer, that's a very clear process. If you want to be a doctor or a nurse, that's a very clear path. Being an artist requires a lot of finesse. I come from a long line of finessers in the best way possible. I'm proud of that skill set. Right. Because life will force you to pivot, right? And if you don't pivot, you get stuck. Right. And that's where difficulty arises. And for me, not traveling this road is just not my truth. And then that's where I start to feel like things are not aligning. Things aren't going as smoothly as they were before. I feel less clear about things. And it's because I'm diverting from where I need to be. And once I'm on that path again, and once I'm on the road again, and someone reaches out to me and says, "Hey, I want to work with you on something," I'm like, okay, I'm excited, let's go for it. And the first thing I think is, well, firstly, I see it. You know, if it's right for me, if it's exciting for me, if it's well crafted, I see it. And then it's usually, okay, how are we going to do this? And I'm a problem solver by nature. I love to solve a problem. So for me, finding new skills and the right people to collaborate with really excites me. And, you know, you have to be open to learning always. So I'm happy to reach out to other artists who might have more skills in an area that I don't yet.
That is great. Let me ask you this.
Mm.
Let us say something were to happen to you. This is just possible scenario, maybe not possible, and you couldn't do what you're doing now. What career path would you take if you couldn't do this?
It would probably be just another creative path. You know, I started out
Ah,
as I started as a painter.
okay, right.
And so there was a moment where I even thought I was going to be an author of like novels and books, things like that. And then I realized, you know, just essentially over time, I realized, oh, I just want to tell stories. So,
Absolutely.
but if I couldn't, you know, there was a point where I thought I was going to be a surgeon.
Really?
I really
Wow.
was, I was like pretty convinced that that was going to be my path. And
Interesting.
I decided I'll just play one on TV.
Sounds good to me.
A lot less school. Those
Yeah.
people have a different, more powerful brain in that arena. So
Yeah. And you know, the money's good playing a surgeon on TV too. Yeah.
yeah, of course, of
So
course. And then and you
that,
get to be other things, right? Maybe I'm a surgeon for a little bit, and then I can go be a superhero over there, or you know, a mechanic over there. You never know. You're open. I'm open.
I like the way you think. Okay. A little later, my friend, we're going to learn more about your artistic journey, and we're
Mm,
going to get the full Monty about that as well. So, but right now, though, let's sashay down the corridors of time to get your backstory because we at Wyatt are nosy like that. So, are you ready?
sure, yeah.
Okay. Where were you born and raised?
So I was born in Bridgeport, Connecticut, but I was raised all over. I moved a lot as a child. So a lot of my roots, so I would say like hometown is Brooklyn, Brooklyn, New York,
Okay.
for sure.
Okay. I believe you are of Jamaican heritage. Is that correct?
Yeah, both my parents were born in Jamaica. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and they both also have like an even richer background. My mother is also English and Irish, and my father has roots in Puerto Rico and Greece.
Wow.
Yeah, very, very deep family origin. A lot of great food.
That's important to me.
Yes, it's
Great food,
crucial.
great food. That's right.
Spicy food, spicy people, it all works
Mhm.
out.
Okay, listen, AJ, I love to ask my special guest this particular question because sometimes it can like, open a window into the person that you are today. So here
Mm.
it is. What was AJ like as a little boy, a little nipper? Give us like three qualities or attributes or, characteristics that best describe you.
So the first one I would say that I think a lot of people might be kind of surprised about is I was very shy. I
No.
was very
Seriously.
shy, very shy.
Interesting. All right.
Very quiet. So I'll
Mhm.
put those as one. Those kind of go together.
Right.
I was always very artistic. Always loved to paint from a very early age.
Mhm.
My parents love to talk about what a big music lover I was and still am, but I used to watch Bob Marley on the TV and try to copy his moves. And the third thing, I don't think this has changed much. I think it's evolved,
Okay.
but I've always been a very sensitive person. I've always been sensitive to the energy around me. So I
Right.
used to I was really big on like writing cards to like my teachers and letting
Oh,
them know like how much I appreciated them. So yeah, very sensitive in that way.
you know what? I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass, but seriously, I am the same way. I
Yeah.
mean, and that has continued on as I've gotten older because I just think that. I don't know. I just think that a card is really something very special. You know,
You can show that you've taken the time to put your thoughts down, that you
exactly.
really wanted this person to fully understand how you felt. There was actually a period of time, my mother will definitely appreciate this. My mother, so my grandmother taught me how to write in cursive. I still write in cursive to this day. I
Okay.
don't even write in print really.
Mhm.
So my mom, whenever she used to send out cards, she would, basically ask me to write up the cards to all the people like on Christmas and holidays and stuff like that. And then eventually I started like charging her. Like I started being like, look, it's going to cost you a little bit. It's a lot of cards. Listen, I understood business from a very early age. I was like, listen,
That-
you want the service? You got to. So a
yeah.
little. I told you I come from a long line of finessers and hustlers.
I see a bored entrepreneur or whatever, man. Come on, charging you. No, boy.
I have my little card business.
Oh my God. Okay, cool. Whatever works for you. All right. But yeah, I definitely understand that whole thing about sending cards because
Mm.
I don't know, it's very important to me. I get a lot out of it, and I hope that the recipient, will get a lot out of it as well. So
Words are powerful for sure.
they are so powerful, so powerful. Speaking of words, I want to read another quote from that canvasrebel.com article. It's a long one, but it's quite illustrative. So here goes. And this is
Mm.
you. Okay. My creative path started at 7 when I was convinced that I make a living as a portrait painter. The summer before I began high school, I surrendered to my need to be a storyteller through film and theater. It was clear to me that using my endless imagination and well of emotionality to connect with others was my purpose. I later discovered my artistic ability could heal me and others who experienced it. This discovery would free me to become a fearless and daring artist who could contribute to the world around him and beyond. End quote. And your use of the verb surrendered says a lot.
Mm.
So let's please drill down on your words.
There's, I'm not known for accepting things as they are.
Mm,
And yet I've learned to appreciate reality and what it has to offer. And the reality, yeah, so I realized, that with reality, there's so many things that life has to offer.
mm,
So instead of always fighting and resisting, I learned how to embrace what was being presented to me and how I could make it work for me. And so in that surrender, I realized that storytelling through the arts, especially through like film and theater, but through theater first, because that's where I started. Once you're in front of people and there's that live moment with the audience and you're being honest and they're open to what you're sharing with them, you develop this connection that's deeper than knowing a name.
mm,
And you start to understand exactly where people are. And you meet them and they meet you there. We meet each other in that space of the theater. And the audience is rooting for you. They want to be entertained. They want to be transformed. They want to put the outside world away for an hour and a half or 2 hours.
mm,
And giving of myself in that way and realizing that it could heal people, that's how I found my way of being of service.
mm,
Because I come from a lot of people who are very giving and generous
mm,
and really value being of service.
mm. Man, that's poignant and powerful. You really, I am so impressed with your talent, your ability to use words. I mean,
Mm.
I'll call you the winsome wordsmith.
Thank
Spirit,
you.
yeah, seriously. I mean, and it's beautiful because I don't know. In today's social media world,
Mm.
we just don't use words the way we used to and the way we should. Because, for example, when I text people, I text in full sentences.
Mm-hmm.
And then I will proofread my text before I send it because I realize that when you're texting someone, for example, the nuances are missed sometimes. You know?
You can't perceive tone.
Right, the tone.
You have to hope that your words are received with the intention with which they're
Right,
being sent.
right.
And especially depending on where you are that day, where they are that day, how well you know each other, there's a lot of room for misinterpretation and miscommunication.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, again, speaking of words, you did a very recent prideindex.com
Mm,
interview. First, let me give a shout out to Mr. Philip Esteem. He is the administrator of prideindex.com, a very, very influential website highlighting Black and people of color creatives. Now, this is what you said, and I quote,
mm,
my parents would tell you that my artistic beginnings started in the living room of our apartment when I was 3. I would watch VHS tapes of Bob Marley performances and make a mess with my Crayola paint set, which only had about 3 colors back then. I grew up surrounded by the liveliest and most colorful people you could ever dream of. And those people still inform the characters I embody today. End
mm.
quote. Care to comment? And I love the thing about the Crayola paint set only 3 colors back then.
I didn't discover macaroni yellow until I was in like eighth grade.
That's
So,
funny.
and that's a real color. I'm pretty confident it's still a color.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. Oh wow. Um. Yeah. I mean, eh, interesting. Okay.
Mm,
I'm gonna steal something else from prideindex.com.
mm,
And you said this, I quote, filmmaking and theater came into my world when I was 12. I
mm.
realized my sensitivity and imagination could go beyond my poems and paintings. I bought my first digital camera when I was 10. I was all in when I realized I could quickly capture an image because I didn't have the same patience to paint landscapes as I did for portraits. Photography opened up a new language to communicate how I saw the world, end quote. Please elaborate on that.
So I started painting portraits when I was very young.
Okay.
And if I was able to get a commission, which wasn't a struggle, thankfully, but when I had a commission, people can't always sit for hours and hours and hours and hours.
That's
So
true.
being able to snap a photo, which is funny because I think around that time is when I bought my first like digital like stills camera. And I think the video camera maybe followed about a year and a half to two later. Because listen, I told you I was making money from my art. Okay, those cards were also helping
Yeah.
out with the fun.
Yeah. You were pimping those cards, my brother. You were pimping those cards. Yes, you were.
Listen, the cursive writing had to go to use. Okay, I knew times were changing. So I took that money and I was like, okay, so I can take stills of my subjects and then I can keep working on them, right?
Exactly.
So they don't have to sit for long periods of time. So that
Right.
was about, making that process more efficient. But also I started experimenting a lot with how I could show people what I was seeing because I don't have the patience of very skilled landscape artists. That is a whole different skill set. I applaud them. I could never be them. They
I
are
know what you mean.
geniuses in their own right. Um, and I tell people, I was like, if you want to understand how I see the world, watch the things that I make
Right.
because that is really literally how I see the world and how I see the people in it. And being able to take a moment and share it just as it was with my own perspective and knowing that I could communicate that directly felt really powerful to me.
Mm.
It allows for clarity that description at times can lose because if I tell you it was really bright outside,
Right.
Well, there's degrees to that, right? You
True.
might think being bright means there's not a cloud in the sky. Someone else could tell you, well, there was a couple of clouds. Someone else could say, well, even if it's fully cloudy, the sun's still coming through, so it's still bright to me. You know, so, but being able to show you like this is, you know, kind of forcing my audience to see something exactly how I see it. And even then, what's
Absolutely.
great is people still see it differently. But you're going
Mm,
to see it as close to as what I intend as possible. And
mm,
so the medium of the camera became a way to clarify that process to the audience, to
mm-hmm.
clarify that language, that communication, and just create a direct bridge. There was no path we had to carve through and work around, and we could get straight to it. And that would allow for even more further interpretation.
Mm.
And so there's an endlessness to that is great. And there's also, you know, film is forever.
That's true too. Yeah.
So being able to immortalize an idea, that's also,
Uh-huh.
I think, really powerful.
That is. Brother, you are deep. You are DEEP deep.
Yeah,
And,
no,
and,
no small talk here.
and we at Wyatt like that. All
Great.
right. Okay. Let us fast forward. Now,
Mm,
AJ, you attended the Regional Center for the Arts in Connecticut, and you
yes.
said that you were provided the equipment and guidance to explore and experiment as a filmmaker. Let's dive into that.
Wow. You know, that experience was so unique,
Mm,
so specific, and there was a, this word gets used a lot, so I'm going to be careful with it. But
okay.
there was a safety there that
Okay.
that where I grew up didn't necessarily allow. Um, you know, art. You know, I didn't from the hood, truthfully, and so like there's so much survival that's happening there that
Mm,
finding a space where sensitivity and creativity can be nurtured, if you get it, you hold on for dear life. And being able to leave my day school in the middle of the day was great. I loved that. But once, you know, the core things were handled at school and high school, once we got on that bus and we were able to go to RCA, and I mean, you had singers, dancers, musicians, musical theater performers, you know, kids who were experimenting with photography and video editing, and you had the actors and the writers. It was really the perfect opportunity to take what life was giving you and make the most of it. You know,
mm.
I truthfully, I sat in class next to kids who ended up in jail and other kids who had a full ride to Yale.
Wow.
And that's not hyperbole. Like I literally sat between those two people and I
Exactly.
remember them clearly and
Mm,
had friendships with them both. And that's what I mean about that safety
mhm,
to nurture something that wasn't quite academic and wasn't quite street survival.
mhm,
You know, I had to use both of those elements to continue to move through life, but RCA really did allow me the space to figure out the kind of artist I wanted to be and needed to be.
right.
You know, you have kids who, I'm thinking about someone very specific who, because of his identity as a queer individual, he was kicked out of his home. And we
Uh,
were maybe 15, 16. And I remember how long it took me to find out because he was so excited about going to RCA
mhm,
that because I didn't see him in the regular part of school. I only saw him at that from the bus point on, right? So it's from
right.
about noon till about 5 o'clock. That's the span of time that RCA is happening in the afternoon. I had no clue about his home life until one day I was just curious about why he was getting off at a certain stop because I knew he lived in a different part of town. But
Mhm,
because RCA provided him a safety and a space to be fully himself, he was so overjoyed that everything else could take a back seat for those few hours.
Mm.
And I think that was the beginning of me recognizing how art wasn't just about me and how I felt,
Right.
and how there was space for other people to share and be seen and live.
Mm.
And so, the great Dexter Singleton, who is an amazing all around artist himself, truly inspired me. There's so many other great teachers. I don't want to leave them out, but he definitely was someone who I would say is probably the closest thing I ever had to a mentor. And
Uh,
even after that, we continue to have a great relationship, but even a working relationship where like he employed me in the plays that he was doing with his own theater company. And people really do truthfully undervalue what a gift it is to be chosen, to be given an opportunity.
yeah.
And then again, it's on you to steward that opportunity to the best of its ability, of your ability. Because I didn't, yeah, I worked really hard. I worked incredibly hard. And anyone who knows me knows that. But it was up to him to choose me and to recognize my hard work. Because a lot of us work very hard all the time and go on. There are janitors and nurses and, all kinds of professionals who work incredibly hard, and people don't take the time to recognize their hard work. So I'm grateful for that.
Wow. Absolutely. And you have to be ready for that opportunity because
Mm,
it can hit you at any point. And if you're not ready, you don't want to squander that.
no, preparation and perseverance
Hmm.
are at the baseline
The two
for sure.
P's, the two
Hmm.
P's, preparation.
Those are the pillars. Yeah.
Mhm. All right. Let's move on to your body of work, which speaks to marginalized communities' experiences, particularly the Black community and its
Mm.
intersectionality. AJ, what in particular compelled you to make that choice?
It's what I know.
Hmm.
And the best thing I can do for myself or anyone else is be honest. And again, if I'm going to do the work and I'm going to do it and do it well, I have to be honest. So, the old saying is write what you know.
Hmm.
And I also fundamentally believe that many people neglect to recognize the fact that if you take care of the Black community, all other communities will rise. Because everyone who is Black is in other spaces, and not every other group is in the space of Blackness.
Hmm.
For, whether you're queer, disabled, a woman, identify as a woman or trans, if you're Black, you're all those things, but you can be all of those things and not be Black.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, there's historically, I won't say unfortunately, but historically, there isn't a group that continues to be, what's the word I'm looking for, but essentially just suppressed
Mm.
in that way.
Right.
There are lots of other groups who've been oppressed and suppressed and yet have found upward mobility.
Hmm.
That Black Americans in particular continue to struggle and still fight for those rights.
Mm.
So, I tell people, even when you read my scripts, assume that the character is Black unless otherwise stated.
Got it.
And it will be stated if they're not. It won't be a mystery. It won't take you long to figure it out.
Okay, I like that. Let's delve into two of your acclaimed works. One is the short drama film titled Expiration Date, and the miniseries on Onyx, excuse me. Now, Expiration Date won the Palm Springs Short Summer 2022 award, and Onyx won both Telly and Webby awards. So give us the log lines for both of them and the meanings behind both titles, because I know there's got to be a meaning, right?
Ooh, okay. Log lines. Every writer's nightmare. But you're like, you want me to
Oh.
summarize, but it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. No, I should be better at this by now. But Expiration Date is about two men who by chance fall in love and then realize that they have to fight fate in order to fight for their love.
Okay.
And then Onyx is about um, a spy whose cover has been blown. And in the midst of being on the run, his everyday, regular living best friend gets pulled into the mix and has to duck for cover and hope for the best. And also is just finding out that his best friend is literally a spy. Mm.
What I like about Onyx, man, is that it spans various genres because you've got drama, you've got action, you've got comedy.
Mm-hmm.
At least you have at least those three.
Yeah.
So, what made you do that? What made you pull all of that together for Onyx?
Mm. So, and then to answer the second part of your question,
Okay.
see, the log line took so much of my mind, I forgot. So, Expiration Date, that title came from
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the element of running out of time. And one of the characters has a line describing that sentiment, and I don't want to give it away, so you can go and watch it, so you can figure out exactly what that line is. And then to get back to Onyx, the literal word means black or darkness. And so it's about the secrecy and the darkness around these spies.
Ah.
So in that darkness of life, where there is drama at times, and there are
Mm.
experiences that feel like action sequences, there's also a lot of humor.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was all wrapped into that. And also, too, I was excited to explore the realms of comedy. I knew the dramatic storytelling really well. I'd spent a lot of time in that space, and I was like, I think people just want to laugh right now,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to laugh, and I needed to laugh, and again, I said, let's challenge. I'm going to challenge myself, and I knew that from the jump, I knew it would be a buddy comedy with myself and Joe Mastrosio.
Right.
So I knew that. And so that was a great launching pad for me. And I mean, I literally wrote, I don't think I've written anything faster than I've written those scripts.
Wow.
Like within, and also we shot I would say 90% of the show in less than a week.
Whoa, that's fast.
It was really fast.
I mean, you were totally in the groove, my brother.
We were.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, we were finding cast really quickly, finding locations really quickly. This again,
Yeah.
the scripts were pouring out of me like the first four came so quickly, and we did have a scheduling situation where I was like, if I don't film Joe now, the odds of me picking this back up in 4 months feels very unlikely.
Right.
And so we pushed, and I called for many a favor, and people showed up and showed out.
Wow. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You know what we're going to do right now?
Tell me.
We're going to play the final trailer for Expiration Date.
Okay.
Because it's one hell of a trailer. And because I'm the host of Wyatt, I can do any goddamn thing I want to do. So we're going to play this trailer right now.
Let's do it.
Are you nervous?
I can't lie, I'm a little nervous. My sister's really excited to meet you.
That's good. The excitement is mutual.
Perfect. You're perfect.
Let's go. You should have told me. I could have helped you.
It's not getting better, but it's not worse. Thank you for your concern.
I can't just stand by and do nothing.
It's all good, Kate.
You know, trying to shut me up is only gonna make me ask more questions.
I mean, it sounds like you're doing the Lord's work.
Thank you. One pill at a time, right? I believe that you should be trying and fighting.
I just noticed you. It's hard not to.
And we're back. Outstanding. You know what? Look, in all seriousness, man, it's really affirming and refreshing to see a black, same gender loving couple on the screen. And we need more of those images. We just do.
Yeah, I see. So I try not to be too online. I need a break. But what has been so refreshing is to see how, I mean, knock on wood, if you will, but I'm so grateful for how truthfully people have really embraced the film.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't have imagined. I mean, the Pan-African Film Festival, an Oscar qualifying film festival run and started by Black people, embraced it immediately. And the 11 days I spent on that, horror run of going around and telling people about the film and then having it screened in the Crenshaw area and having people come in off the street to watch it. And then it getting another life later on online. I mean, you can see how many people have tuned in. It's incredible. And people still are still tuning in.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, it's very gratifying and it tells me that I'm onto something. I do want to mention something quickly about it, but there was someone who reached out to me and they reached out to me directly, but you can also, I believe they also left a comment on the video online, but they talked about losing their partner of 20 years, just months before stumbling upon expiration date.
Right.
And he said to me how the film touched him and moved him. And I was like, the fact that my work can be a source of comfort to someone I do not know, who's gone through a substantial loss of any kind, I've done my job. I don't need to ask for anything else. So that I didn't expect for the film to give to me in ways that at all, I felt like I'm giving this to the audience. I didn't expect for, but I'm so grateful for the way that it's also given back to me.
Yeah, that is so important. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. What obstacles or roadblocks have you encountered during your journey and your career, and how did you demolish them?
I keep demolishing them because they're very consistent with the factors of the old way of doing things, the old way of thinking about things. So the limitations around opportunity for artists like me and that look like me, and also, the old fight with money and finding the resources to do the things that you need to do, especially as I continue to elevate the work, I have to cultivate more resources.
Right.
And, all the intentions in the world are not always enough to do that. So I have to work really hard to show people the vision that I have for things. And usually once they see it, it moves forward. So I would say, continuing to get around the obstacles of opportunity. But you know what I'll say about that? A lot of people ask me, like, the industry's in such a tough place right now.
Right,
what are you
right.
doing? How are you? I'm not a part of the industry in that sense. I participate as a person who creates and generates income through their work. However, just because something has been doesn't mean it's the only way to be.
Right.
And so I continue to reach out to the community and reach out to people that I know and say, hey, this is what I'm working towards. If this resonates with you, here are some ways that you can support. And people answer the call. Community still matters. Community still matters to people. It really does. I know that we don't always see it, and it's definitely not what's talked about in the news, but community still matters to people. The human experience can't be faked. It just can't.
That is so true. Well said. Here's another amazing quote by you. You've said, some of these significant milestones that got me to where I am now are more about my life choices than career decisions. Inquiring minds want to know more.
I would say that really is about trusting myself. My grandmother says that to me, she says that a lot. She's like, you can always trust people to be who they are, but more importantly, you need to be able to trust yourself. And it took me a while to figure that out, because I was like, well, I'm already myself. I don't know what there is to trust.
Right.
What I realized that she meant was that trusting that everything that I've worked for and worked towards will continue to push me forward. Just trust that what I do know and staying open to what I don't know will continue to move me forward. And trusting that I will make the most of whatever situation or opportunity comes before me. And so you'll realize that maybe, taking a risk in saying yes to something that normally you wouldn't. But I had to trust myself that I could get out of a situation if it wasn't right for me. That I could stand up and say, you know what, I thought this was right for me, but it's not. Or trusting myself and saying, you know what, I know I don't know everything about this thing, but I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn enough to show up and do the job and do it to the best of my ability. So it really came down to making choices about the people I surround myself with, how I take care of myself, and listening to people. And listening to people, because people are always telling you what you need to know. A lot of people are saying, oh, I don't like to judge. I don't like to judge. I love judging, not necessarily people and condemning them, but what I love to judge is if something is right for me or not. I love being able to say, you know what? This isn't for me. Thank you. God bless and Happy New Year. I'm going to go. Or, hey, I really enjoy this. I want you to know I enjoy this process with you. How can we continue to move forward?
Right.
So that is a judgment on what is and is not for me. I don't judge what other people do, but I know what is and is not right for me. So trusting myself and trusting to put myself in the best possible situation, it does matter. It really does matter. Sometimes you just got to go to bed early. Sometimes that's what's good for you.
Yeah, I do that sometimes a little more than I would like to. But look, when you're tired, you're just tired, and you need to go to bed early so you can re-energize yourself and get that battery going for the next day.
100%.
I applaud your honesty. I mean, that's good. Okay, Mister, what projects and events do you have on tap for the rest of 2025? Those that you can talk about.
Yeah, I know that I'm notoriously private, but there are some things There are some things I'm very excited to talk about that I can share.
Oh, good.
Um,
Okay.
so there is one of these we've kind of talked about a little bit before. We didn't realize it, but we are actually preparing for a season 2 of Onyx, which
Hey,
I'm really excited
that is
for.
great. Congratulations.
Thank you. So there are
Yeah.
characters that were introduced at the end that I was like, you know what? These people are really interesting.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to open up the world more and explore that. And so I won't reveal much more about that, but just know that, yeah, season 2 is in the works. And so I'm very excited about that. Another story that is in the works, and in the works, I mean, very, very soon, is a film of mine called Making Conversation.
Okay.
And I wrote that story about 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And as life does, it lifes and it happens, and other things,
Right.
push you and guide you. But the story came back. It came back around. There was interest in it. I was interested in it again. And so we've put that together. So Making Conversation is in the works at the moment, and will be requiring our community support because, again, as we talked about, we've elevated the stakes, we've raised the stakes, we've raised our level of production. So we'll be looking to reach out to the community to help us with some production pieces. But yeah, that's what is up on the immediate docket. But there are other things coming up, more stories about all kinds of marginalized people. There's so many other avenues that I'm fascinated with and continuing to explore.
Okay, two questions. First of all, AJ, what's the log line for making conversations?
Okay, this one I haven't practiced yet, but we'll practice it today. I'm excited. Okay, so a young woman named Amy is faced with throwing the perfect dinner party for her brother
Oh,
and her friends. And
mm,
in this attempt to be the perfect host, she continues to mess things up for
no.
herself and for her guests. And you just watch her entire night unfold. But, so that's that. But the story really is, it tackles, and it's lighthearted. It's a romantic comedy. It's meant for us to laugh. It's meant for us to enjoy wholeheartedly. When silly, goofy things happen, you should be laughing with them. You should be cringing a little bit and be like, how is she going to get out of this? How is she going to make it work? So that's very exciting. And it tackles real issues around anxiety and perfectionism and expectations.
Now, is Amy a sister or a white woman?
She is a white woman, but
Mm,
there are always sisters and brothers around for sure. And
mm,
they are at the heart of the story and they're
mm,
integral to the story.
mm. All right now.
So, oh yeah, it was interesting. It was definitely one of those things where I was like, okay, this is a new challenge. This is a new challenge.
Mm,
And I believe that the right people were cast in their
mm,
roles.
mm.
So
Mm,
it's exciting to see. She's got a lot to do.
mm.
Because
Amy
one thing about
girl.
us, when you in danger, girl.
She in danger. Amy girl. Amy girl, you better get yourself together.
Listen, get the recipes, get them right, get
That's
them tight.
baby. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Now, the second question is, where can we find Onyx?
So Onyx is on YouTube right now.
Cool.
So yeah, you can find it there. And then the easiest way to find all of the work is ajlovelace.com.
Uh-huh.
So you'll see the different still and poster images, and then they all have links to the work.
Okay, now give us your social media.
So for Instagram and Twitter, I think for most social media, it's alovelacejr. I just wanted to keep it clean,
Right.
simple, easy to remember. And then ajlovelace.com. So
Got it.
that's me. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, my brother, we learned a lot about you today, and we're so glad we did.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
But Mr. AJ Lovelace, thank you for stopping by. Wyatt, my brother, it's been a stone cold blast. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Do you feel me?
I feel you.
Good. I'm glad you do. Listen, in all seriousness, thank you for dropping by the show. I appreciate that.
I can't wait to be back.
You got it, my brother. Yeah. So, y'all, there you have it. You can find the official Wyatt podcast page at wyattevans.com, the go-to destination for LGBTQ plus news, features, commentary, and entertainment. WyattEvans.com is visited by more than 100 countries on the regular. All I can say to that is, hey, baby. And at WyattEvans.com, you'll find my smoking hot, HAWT hot, Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. And as you just saw on the top, the newest installment is called Shattered. I said Shattered. And y'all, Shattered is full of action, danger, intrigue, sexually charged situations, passion, and all of the wonderful elements that you're used to in the Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. So get your new copy of Shattered. Now, you can follow me, your host, Wyatt O'Brien Evans, all across social media, and poof, is right there for you to peruse, like TikTok and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And if you have any comments or whatever, you can hit me up at wyattonair@gmail.com. So until next time, y'all, woof, goddammit, woof, 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 woof. I said woof.